This majority of the members of this debate are either sick or getting over a cold.
Oh. Don't breathe in our direction.
Today we will be debating breed-specific legislation in California. This can be defined as laws passed by a legislative body pertaining to restricting breeding specific breeds of domesticated animals. Advocates such as Pablo and I, who support the implementation of bans on specific breeds, believe that breeds such as pit bulls, chihuahuas, and Rottweilers are the primary breeds that possess aggressive tendencies and aggressive behavioral traits. Due to these unfortunate occurrences, implementation of breed-specific legislation, or BSL for short, are needed for numerous reasons because breeds such as the ones listed above are overpopulated in California. They cause many cases of injury to human beings, specifically to the elderly and young children who are defenseless against these attacks. And because these breeds are neglected by owners who use them for other purposes, which leads them to be impounded in animal shelters. So, my first point, that California has an overpopulation of dogs with aggressive tendencies. According to Carl Friedman, director of San Francisco Animal Care and Control, he stated in 2005 that there are about 7,000 pit bulls in San Francisco, about 6% of the city's dog population, only 6%, but they account for more than half of the canines that get picked up after biting someone. Over the last year, 2005, Friedman's agency euthanized 870 dogs for lack of a home. About half were pit bulls. He goes on to say that his problem is that the dogs are overpopulated, and he's euthanizing these healthy adoptable pit bulls for no reason. Another source, Ingrid Newkirk, the president of PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, stated in her article that from California to New York, many shelters have enacted policies requiring the automatic destruction of huge and ever-growing numbers of pits, as they call pit bulls, that they encounter. She goes on to say that pit bulls are overly dangerous and overly abused by mankind. The danger of pit bulls and Rottweilers is well established, in that they account for 75% of all reported canine-inflicted human deaths in the past 2 decades. It is undisputed that pit bulls in particular are the most abused dog in the USA. Created for the specific purpose of violence, the dogs are treated cruelly to make them as dangerous as possible, and are routinely abandoned when they are not vicious enough for their evil owners. She goes on to say that in the PETA office, she has a file drawer chock full of accounts of attacks which these ill-treated dogs, with names like murder and homicide, have torn the faces and fingers off of infants and even police officers trying to serve warrants. Over and over again, she waded into ugly situations and pulled pit bulls from people who beat and starved them, or chained them to metal drums as guard dogs, or trained them to attack people and other animals. I watched a video about dog fighters, dog owners who fight their dogs, and some of them literally go out into the street, find a dog that they see is dying or is in bad condition in some kind of alleyway, and they literally just let the pit bull go and see what it does to see if it's effective in fighting in the games. Moving on to my next point, that breeds that display more aggressive tendencies were bred that way, and instinctually these behavioral traits are a part of their genetic makeup. The trial in Denver, Colorado in 2005, which was the trial of the city of Denver versus the state of Colorado, which they won to implement a breed-specific legislation on pit bulls. The expert testimony of Dr. Peter L. Borchett, a certified applied animal behaviorist, stated that while breeding to suppress the behavioral tendencies for diverted aggression towards humans may have occurred in the distant past, the increased demand for the breed means some breeders no longer have the incentive to cull human aggressive dogs. Such dogs may instead be sold to unwary public and bred, further diluting the suppression of this behavior. Fighting dog breeds artificially selected and bred towards dangerous behaviors in order to intensify the frequency of the behavior. This caused these breeds to have the frequency of these dangerous behavioral traits still represented statistically in a distribution pattern similar to the traditional bell curve, but shifted towards higher levels of the dangerous behavior compared to other breeds. Although the actual tendencies of an individual dog of these fighting breeds could be anywhere along the frequency distribution curve, the problem is that any specific dog's location on the curve cannot be determined merely by looking at it, since it shares the same location on the curve, since it shares the same phenotype or physical characteristics as other more dangerous pit bulls. However, as the entire breed selective breeding has caused its frequency distribution curve to be shifted higher, creating a reliable higher probability of higher frequencies of such dangerous behavior. This establishes that there is rational basis to differentiate pit bulls from other breeds of dogs, because the arguing side would say that pit bulls are just like any other dog, and any other dog can show aggressive tendencies, but not all dogs should be treated equal, because you cannot compare a lion to a tabby cat or to a puma, because they just possess factors that make it more dangerous. Thank you.